Hi, I'm Michael.
And I'm Grace.
And we're California Travel Videos. And here we are up outside of Santa Rosa, maybe about 10 miles, near the Safari West. And where are we at specifically?
We are at the Pepperwood Reserve.
Yes.
And what we're doing is, last year we had to drive quite a ways to see the wildflowers. Well, both sadly, but to our advantage here, and we're gratitude, is there's a lot of flowers blooming right here in our own neck of the woods. So we're out here getting some education on that today.
So yeah, this is beautiful out here today. It's a wonderful day after Easter and about tax day coming up tomorrow. But here we are out in the middle of God's country. And as we look behind Grace right now, we can see, look at what's over there. Thousands of poppies, and oh, there's a lot more we're going to talk about.
There's all kinds. I mean, there is every type of imaginable wildflower. There are so many, in fact, that I actually got.
Broke down, and what did you get?
Well, I purchased to help the park with funding, and in turn, I got this wonderful brochure, two sides of all the different wildflowers.
So there's probably about 200. How many have you got memorized so far?
The purple dicks, the California poppy, the buttercup, a few of them.
Okay, good. We're off to a start. So let's take a look at the video and see what we've got.
My name is Linda Barnhart, and I am a Pepperwood steward here. Been here for quite a long time. As George has been here, he is as well a Pepperwood steward. And we have Lynn Harris and Darlene Leffler, and any other stewards here? Okay, I think we got them all. Now, is there anybody here today for the very first time?
No.
Oh, cool.
Sort of.
Oh my gosh, that is wonderful. Well, welcome. We sincerely welcome you, and this is such a beautiful time to be here at Pepperwood when the wildflowers are out. And those of you who are returning, we welcome you back. Now, I would like to share with you just a little bit of history about Pepperwood. But first of all, a question has been asked on occasion, like, why does Pepperwood exist? The answer is this: to promote conservation through education and research. We are a place where science and community come together. Pepperwood was created for our community and supported by our community, and we hope that you will be on board to help join in this mission. Now, just a very, very short history about Pepperwood. We are 3,200 acres, and this is dedicated to education and research. And in 1979, the Kenneth Bechtel family gifted this property to the California Academy of Sciences. And in 1979 to 2005, the California Academy of Sciences managed all of this property. But in 2005, something really wonderful happened. Herb and Jane Dwight bought this property as a nature preserve and created the Pepperwood Foundation. Now, if you wanted to learn more about Pepperwood, I would suggest that you go to our beautiful website, www.pepperwoodpreserve.org. And there's also other handouts there on our table as you signed in. We have an extensive educational program for our children. Pardon? Yeah. Maybe they'll go that way.
Slow down a little. My head's going to go.
Yeah, they're going to go that way. They're a little bit running a little bit late here this morning. All right, we are a nonprofit program, and you could become a member by signing in today if you wanted to, or online. We have an e-newsletter, and a lot of you are already signed up for that. I heard you share about that. And but if you're not, you can go ahead and sign up for that. Now, our instructors today will be George Jackson, and Steve Barnhart, and Jennifer Palanini. All right, there we go. And so right now, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Barnhart to share with us about what we're going to be doing today and what's the plan.
Well, the plan is we're going to divide up and count off on either 2 or 3 groups, and then we're going to go out for the next 2 hours and look at the flowers in the meadow edge over here next to the burned chaparral area. And we're also going to go out on the south slope of the below the road that you drove in on to look at some of the common wildflowers in grasslands. There's wildflowers all over the preserve, but the opportunity to get out and use these 2 hours most productively, we're staying close to where you parked. You will find that my wife, Linda, produced a wildflower brochure. It's taken her several years, but she's holding one in her hands. And we paid for the production of that and gave it to the preserve. So if you donate money for a copy of that, that all goes to the education program here at the preserve. It's not put in the general fund. You know what happens when you do that. It goes to the education program, mostly for the children's programs. So that's where your donation will go. Many of the flowers you will see today are in there. That would include the spelling of the scientific names. But we will be telling you both scientific name, or binomial as we call them, and also common names. But the common name you hear out of your leader may not be the common name on the brochure. Does anybody know why that is? Because it's a common name. And a common name is not assigned by some scientist who studied the plants. It's assigned by somebody who said, ooh, that kind of looks like a bull, so I'm going to call it bull thistle. Or that kind of looks like a candy cane, so I'm going to call it candy stripe. Or some other thing like that. And that's why, of course, you're going to hear a variety of these, and you can take your pick. But if you really want to know what it is, you have to look at the binomial, the 2-word name, either under the photograph or from your leader if they give it to you. Most people don't want to hear that or know it, and that's fine, because you're out here just to enjoy the flowers and what's here. But for people who study them, that's really important. I have led in my career, I taught for many years, field trips around California in which there were international participants, often who didn't speak English, but they always knew the binomial. And that was one of the benefits of knowing that. You could talk to somebody from Japan and they would know what you're talking about.
So now what we're doing, we're going to each of those plants and we're measuring how many sprouts are coming up, how many leaf count, and measuring everything. It's amazing. Every one of those, and if you look and later on you come back, sort of look at the edges, and you'll see them coming out. Oh, we do, bay was up there, and we think only one bay didn't make it, and we also, sticky monkey, flourishing. Okay. So it's very exciting to see what's all going up. So today that's what they're doing. They're going to each of our, we do samples of 3 different of those plants. So they're measuring and taking pictures so we can watch the progression.
And my understanding is California poppy is native.
Yeah.
Poppy.
Oh, I think there's 2 kinds of poppy. There's like a golden poppy, which is more yellow than this.
Well, there's different species in different locations too.
Okay.
And so
Okay, Pepperwood. This is the Pepperwood poppy.
This is the California state poppy.
This is the California
And then
state
what we have-
Poppy,
Okay.
yeah, what
native.
we have here is
Native.
anybody's familiar with this little guy? This
that
purpley white.
Lupin?
That's a lupin.
He's just very little. And it's miniature, right, George?
It's a bicolor. Here we go. Common names: miniature, bicolor, dwarf, lupin.
Now there's a whole hill somewhere that has a whole bunch of those.
But may not be these.
Yeah. But I mean of the lupine.
Yeah, but they may, because people plant them, and also there's especially further down the hill, you'll end up with a different variety that's much larger, and we get these here too. They're scads up, but then there's, because of the fire, they did hydro spraying where they spread seeds in a green mat. The idea that was for erosion control.
Right.
And when we had the fire in '64, I wasn't here at the time, but when the fire came through here in '64 and '65, they brought in a seed for erosion control called harding grass because they were afraid that this rain would happen, because at that time they had more rain, and that would erode all the soil. So they were handing it out to the farmers and to the ranchers and coming in with planes and dropping out.
It's invasive.
Well, it turns out that there was really no reason whatsoever, that the natives were perfectly fine to do the exact same thing.
The natives.
And now it's been a scourge. Well, you can see it right over here. And that's not it either. That's not it either. No, I'll have to point it out.
This is a different leaf than that last one.
Yeah, this is the other. This is more of a geranium. Yeah, so this is a different one, because you can see the difference in the leaf. It's more of a palm. And so, but this all is invasive stuff that came in with, cattle feed or whatever, and it's been just spreading like crazy over the many years that people have been here.
Neodymium is a distant relative of the geranium.
It's a minor, kind of a subset, minor group of it.
I think on Mark West Springs Road, along the one side, it'd be on this side, there's a whole bunch of Lupin.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah,
different colors.
that's
You
what
see
I've
that?
heard.
Yeah,
Well,
and that was
is
all
it within
planted.
the park?
Huh?
Is it within the park?
But it's just on that side, but it's been planted or, seeded along there.
Since I've been here for almost 20 years, I'm pretty familiar with various this and that. Well, I know there's a patch of lupin just after you get onto the road coming up here. It's right on the side of the road. I'm going, that wasn't there last year. That was part of the spray they put on there, which I'm going, well, it's better than spraying harding grass. That's still.
Yeah.
And this pale yellow.
Okay, now this one here is a relative of the poppies called a cream cup. And we're lucky it's getting warm enough, so they're starting to open. As you can see, we're going to go over that direction. They're getting more and more open. That'll just be one big wash of yellow once that gets going.
It looks almost like it's related to the buttercup.
Yes, but it's paler because it's green.
Well, actually, if you look at the stamens, the pollen, and you look at that in the poppy, see the big cluster? That's how you can tell, at least to a certain degree, that they're related.
What is that called when there's a lot of little, is that when there's a multitude of little flowers inside?
Well, that's compound, but that's sunflower family.
Oh, this
Astraceae.
isn't a compound?
No.
What kind of classification are these?
I'm sure there's a name for it, but I'm afraid I
You
can't
don't
give it
know.
to you.
You don't know the classification. It's like
Because
why that is a
they have
poppy.
names for every little tiny piece of it. This is that.
And what family they are? Is this in a certain family?
Oh, sure.
Like
Well,
poppy family would
Poppy,
be.
let's see
So
if it's-
poppy is its own family?
Let's see
or-
if Linda.
I don't see
Linda
it
has
on
poppy.
here.
California poppy.
Oh, you found it?
A very orange picture, but it's
Oh, thank you. So,
yeah, one of those words hard to pronounce. ESCHSCHOLZIA. That's the short. That's why I don't do it.
but poppies are poppies. They're not like there's peas and there's.
How are you doing?
Oh, you can take that picture.
That's what
Yeah,
this
you
is.
could. You can hold on
This
to
is
that.
type of it's
Thank you, though.
another
I'll have to
small
find
group
one.
of the peas are called vetch, and that's what this is. It's probably may just be vetch because there's some of them that's all they call it.
No, that is a pea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a member of the pea family,
It's a pea. Yeah.
and you can tell kind of by the leaf structure, and also when it goes to seed, it'll be a pea pod, a flat kind of like a summer pea, and I don't think it's spring vetch, but that kind of looks like, because spring vetch is bigger, I believe. But that's one of the ones. That's one of the first flowers you'll see. And I'm looking for.
This is Serpentine?
Probably not.
Serpentine has sort of blue.
Yeah, it's kind of blue.
But it goes from black to
Oh, that looks like
brown
there's blue
to.
in there. I see the blue in
Okay,
there.
now
Maybe right
here.
above that one. That could be right there.
Yeah. Okay, here we have a type of clover. And common names again, it's cow udder, cow sack. You can see it's kind of like a balloon. Some people call it that. We have, I think, up to the count currently is like 40 different species of clover on the property.
Wow.
Wow.
And I was out Monday with one of our botanists, way beyond what I have by far. It's been his livelihood. And I was able to see I think 20 new species of plants that I had never seen on the property. Because he's
What a treat.
He knows his stuff. He just like, he only made one mistake as far as I can tell. So let's see. I'm looking for, maybe it's a little too cool still. There's one out here. It's called Red Maid that we'll talk about maybe on our way back. Hopefully by the time we get back it'll warm up enough to do it.
Buttercup? Cream cup.
That's cream cup.
So all that
All
white out there, that creamy, that's all cream.
Yeah, I can't wait to get there.
Cream
And
puff.
then the yellowish, that's the Buttercup.
The Buttercup. Okay.
Things are a little slower this year for whatever. Just the way, because of the fire and the amount of rain
Now,
and the
what
amount
are
of sun.
these? What are these? These are cream cups?
Those are cream cups, yeah. Kind of a cream color. That's,
And it's a buttercup? It's a
it's related to the Buttercup.
It's related to the buttercup.
Uh-huh. I don't know if it's actually true, but the description I give for poppies, the reason for, this is unusual that, see this covering?
Mm-hmm.
In most flowers, that will open up with the petals. Whereas with this, and see, there you got an example of it right here.
Yeah.
See how it's sliding over?
Yeah.
It's popping off. I don't know if that's
like
where
a
they get the
little cap,
poppy
isn't it?
concept, because this will just,
It'll come off the top.
Yeah.
Oh, rather than even.
yeah, it disconnects below, and then as the flower opens, it just
Pops
pops
it.
it off.
So what do they call that cap?
A cap.
Okay.
Is this another clover?
This is another clover, thank you. And this one is called Subterranean, which is a funny name because it's not underground. But this one also has a curious thing, is that when it produces seed, it doesn't drop it right away. Even while it's still attached to the plant, it will drive the seed underground.
Underground, okay.
And that's kind of where it gets the subterranean concept. But just some of the adaptations of things are just so fun.
Did you already talk about this little yellow one?
That's sweet.
That might be burr clover.
Bird?
Burr.
Burr.
As in burr gets caught in your pants.
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of burr.
Yeah.
Hey, Buttercup.
Hey,
You feeling poppied?
there's a lot of poppies popping. Look at the beautiful yellows. These are so pretty. Look at this whole valley.
Incredible, isn't it?
Different shades of yellows and oranges. And we've got some beautiful serpentine rocks.
Oh, yeah.
See, they've got the little blue in them.
Mm-hmm.
Just beautiful. So it's incredible to think that the minerals that are carried in the rock help produce the vitamins that help the flowers grow.
Yeah, the nutrients, the magnesium, I guess, is what
Yeah,
they're looking for.
That's pretty incredible. Don't step on the poppy. That's going to cost you.
Ah!
Fine him.
Wherever I'm going.
Fine him. I'm watching my step.
Okay.
I'm tippy-toeing through the tulips.
Mm-hmm.
Have
It
you
looks-
ever heard that song?
I'm not sure, but I'm thinking this is where there was some plants here, and we can see some of the charcoal
Yeah.
that they left behind.
The remnants of the fire.
Yes.
Wow, that's kind of a surreal photo.
It is.
Burnt
Mm-hmm.
charcoal.
Yeah.
Wood and the
Everything's
flowers
pretty
growing
much
around.
charcoal, but you see some of these oak trees. They're saying, we're okay. We're just fine.
Those tables there,
Oh,
they'll plant them in little tubes that are kind of an upside down cone, and so little clumps of grass will develop, and then they'll go out and they got these little funny tools
And
that
they
you
just
step on it and it cuts a little hole that fits exactly, and you put the plug in.
Now these are native grasses.
Those are native grasses, and one of the
Whatever.
really nice things about this particular meadow, at last count, there's like 7 varieties of native grasses out here.
Did the volunteers plant it?
No, that's
Oh,
just
it's
here.
going.
And this is one of the places they go to harvest.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about, well, no, one of many things about Pepperwood, is that it's a focal point of energy, if nothing else, but also of that, like if there's 2 species of, well, there's a lizard called alligator lizard, and there's a southern alligator lizard and a northern alligator lizard. Well, this piece of ground is the southernmost range of the northern ones and the northernmost range of the southern ones.
So this is a
So you have
mediating?
both of them, so that researchers could come in and go and
See both.
and also there's also east-west. It's exactly the same thing. That if you go a mile that way and a mile that way, you'll lose that, because this is it. This is the epicenter for.
Oh, how interesting!
And it's both
Did
east
they
and west, north.
plan that when they?
No, pure chance
How
and luck.
lucky.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
the story
So
for
this is a beautiful learning.
yeah, a
and
quick story
research.
of why this exists is that back in the 50s, when people were really freaked out about nuclear attacks and fallout, there was a guy in the Bay Area that decided, okay, where can I be within like an hour's drive of the Bay Area where I can take my family, and the predominant wind direction is toward the Bay Area. And that's what he found here.
Why that?
It's just 90% of the time the wind blows south.
Why would he want that to blow it back to the Bay Area?
So that you don't get the fallout here.
Oh,
it just
he
keeps-
wants to send it back to
he
everybody
wants to be
else.
further up the hill, and so it's like it stays down there.
Send it all down to the
So
Bay Area.
so he found this place, and then Kenneth Bechtel, who was related to the Bechtel Corporation people,
Yeah.
they met, and so Kenneth Bechtel came out with them, and they just started buying up lots. And the first guy, his wife dies, and his two sons that move away, and so he just kind of lost interest, so Kenneth Bechtel bought everything up. And he ended up with Kenneth Bechtel with, 32, so 7,400 acres of ground.
This year.
And then when he died, that's how it went to the Academy of Sciences, as Linda mentioned.
He
I heard-
actually he bestowed it to the Academy.
That was in his will.
In his will.
Well, the thing was, I'm friends with people who have lived here forever in this area, and they said that at the time of his death, he was starting divorce proceedings against his wife, and because he didn't want her to have any of it. But he died,
That's why he gave it all to somebody else.
she got half of it because he died before he was able to finish that.
Oh, he didn't want her though.
No.
Oh.
So there's an active thing
So what
called
did
Franz
she
Valley.
do with the
It's
property?
called Franz Valley Ranch. It's still an active ranch,
Oh.
and that's over that way.
And is she a conservationist?
She was she was younger by like 15 or 20 years of him, and she just died maybe 2 years ago. And
So it's a working ranch.
yeah.
Oh.
No,
Yes.
Are there any endangered species here?
Well, actually, those little thing that I picked with the long tube, we have a species that's called false star, baby star, and it's an endangered species, and it's further up into the property. It took a while for the people in the biz to accept it as being a different species, but they finally came around to saying, yes, that is what that is. And so there's at least that.
But I wanted to mention that I always found intriguing about here. When you stand back here and you look, you see all the cream cups here. But see clear over there, you don't see them. So it's like they have their own thing. The poppies are here. Yeah, and you look at look in the middle. Has to do with what? The soil. It has to do with the water that's wetter in there. And I found this, to me, one of my most fascinating things about this was how all the different flowers, they find their own grouping. Do you know, to me it was like society. It's their own grouping, and everything changes. Once in a while you'll find one part clear over there, but for the most part. So anyway, that was my
They're attracted to their own
fascination.
kind. They hang out together.
Yes, they do.
Does it have anything to do with being on this side of the hill?
Well, it's as I mentioned, this is serpentine and that serpentine, and in the center it's less intense of the nasty metals, and so plants are easier. And as she mentioned, as you can see, it's almost a drainage right down the center. Well, I wasn't going to say this, but I live right over there. It's my house next door here, and so I'm at the end of a wetland essentially, and so depending on its likes and dislikes, plants will grow whether it's too much water, too little water.
Well, how about the north and south slopes
Well,
also?
that's because that'll be because on the south side the water will will go away
Right.
quicker than the north side, even in the hottest part of the year. And on a slope, usually you have thinner soil, so you have grasses versus trees. Whereas on the top where it's more stable, on the top you'll have a thicker mat, so you'll have a tree growing there. So,
I have a question about the time of day. I mean, like I was at Lancaster or Palmdale or those places that by Antelope Valley. I guess you know, like the poppies, they pretty much close. In my backyard where I have wildflowers, they seem like they close in the evening. Is that kind of common for most of the flowers out here?
I'm not sure if it's common. It does happen a lot. You know what percentage? I don't know. There's lots of them that don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to point
The
out.
broader leaves are the ones that normally close up more?
Even that's an iffy.
Okay.
Those poppies close up.
Yeah, the poppies close up, the cream cups close up.
Yeah.
That's why, if you notice, this is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Then here's another one that's going to also, well, once the cream cups go away, in a little bit they're already here. This here is called Goldfield. And it kind of looks like a sunflower, but it's not in that family. But this is what happens when things dry down a little bit more. It'll start going where the cream cups are now when it dries down. Over the hill and through the woods there, where I can unfortunately there's a couple of flowers over there that are gorgeous that we can't go to because they're just too far away. The goldfields are much more prevalent there now because it's a much shallower soil, and so it's drying out much more quickly.
This was all black, was it? It was all burnt out?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I need.
Do you notice up there all the sprouts coming up? And I believe those are all bay, California bay or Pepperwood trees.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Say, George,
California bay.
speaking of burning, I was noticing some of these areas, they have big clumps that, you know, it's really charcoal. What was here in these places that burned? I mean, you can see them every once in a while.
It might be, well, see how this is coming out of that?
Yeah.
I think probably it might be a perennial grass.
Oh, grass. Okay.
That it was a cluster and then
Yeah.
burned down there. And
All right.
So some of them are resprouting. It depends on how intense that particular spot was.
Okay, but more grasses.
Okay, here we have another funny little plant. Everybody know what this is?
Miner's lettuce.
Uh-huh. And we're going to come across a relative of this a little further down the trail.
And this is the cream cups that
That's the
opened
cream
up?
cup. Yes, see, they're getting that. And they'll stay like this until in the afternoon when it starts to cool down. They'll shut it back down again. Yeah, that's blue-eyed grass while it's in a closed state.
Good eyes, George.
I've got my head geared for color.
Yes.
I ignore green for the most part, which
Uh-huh.
I've missed a lot of things, I'm sure. But I do photography too, and so it's like,
Oh, sure you would
So it's
then,
like
yes.
I
You have
trigger.
a trained eye.
uh-huh.
I'll bet you could find a golf ball in a rough in a moment.
When I first saw them, there was only like one or two. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what the heck is it? What the heck is that? And it turns out this is related to miner's lettuce.
No way.
Yes, if you look at it carefully, you can see the same effect. Where is it? That's further down.
Huh.
Yeah, it's further.
Are these
it's-
the red maids you were talking
No, these things. This is called spring beauties, and the subspecies is gypsum spring beauties because being on serpentine soil,
Yeah.
it has gypsum in it, which is for most plants a negative. Whereas this plant, you'll only find it. This is one of the endemic, where you will only find this on a serpentine soil. So if you see this, you go, serpentine soil. Well, see this bush right here is sprouting.
Uh-huh.
That's probably the leather oak that I was talking to about.
Oh,
Jim.
yeah.
That's probably what this is. The leather. Because you see the leaves. It's an oak leaf.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you can see. I mean, these are quite old. So they might have been this big,
Right.
and they were old, and like all this. This is all leather oak through here.
Wow.
There's also poison oak, so you got to be careful. Which right now we're not dealing with that so much. But the spring beauties are a really pretty little flower.
So they're a relative of the
Miner's lettuce, yes.
I found those and I couldn't figure out what they were.
George, did you mention like that was once a leather oak?
Well, right here, this is all leather oak.
Leather oak, and here it's coming more. So it doesn't get much bigger than that leather oak. That's usually how you tell it. The other ones
Pretty
go up.
petite.
Yeah.
So it's a bush, not a tree.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
because definition of a tree is more than 6 inches at breast height of 3 feet.
Is that what that is?
That's
yeah.
which is a
And the
short
leather
person.
oak is a bush, huh?
Because none of that ever gets very big. So it's a
And it
shrub.
doesn't have
shrub, another
like a
term you
big
might wanna use.
trunk coming up.
And I only learned like just a few years ago. We have two species. There's the Western and the Californian. And the way I'm able to distinguish it now is the California has 8 or more petals, and the Western has 8 or less. And I figure California's better. That's what I use as my guide.
Could you talk about this?
Those are the blue-eyed grass.
Okay, thank you.
They're going to be opening. They'll probably, when we get around there, they'll probably be open.
Yeah,
more.
I grew up with them, so but I never knew what
As
to call them.
I say, I like to say that they're neither blue nor a grass. They're purple and they're an iris.
George, do you have the right information about yellow jackets? I told him I did my one class or something we were doing,
Think so.
saying that they're very beneficial.
Most insects are natives. They don't
Yeah.
travel huge amounts.
Oh, well,
Most
the honeybees are not native.
Well, no,
They're-
see, that's the commercial product, whereas yellow jackets are the
Are-
wasps.
yeah, they're not in the
There's no reason to
commercial.
make them any
Yeah.
better than they already are.
Not to bring them over
No.
to Europe. Yeah.
No, but they're beneficial.
Yes.
But they could have been introduced. Well, yeah, who would introduce a yellow jacket?
Get to the large
Why
one.
would they?
No.
Yeah, they're native. Okay, native to the West Coast.
And with the idea of ants and mosquitoes and ticks and critters like that, almost always, 99% of the time, anything you see is female. That the males are only for reproduction. They hang around. Well, the word drone, that's what in the bee world. I'm not sure if they call them in ants drones also, but they're only there for reproduction to pollinate the queen, and then they're told to go take a hike.
And the workers are sexless, is that it?
No, they're all female.
Oh, the workers
But they're
are all
not fertile.
Female. Oh, they're not fertile female.
Unless there's a stress, either they lose the queen's getting sick, then they're able to be fed the proper diet and they can be transferred over to a queen that can produce.
I'm sorry, what did you say those were?
These, I haven't said yet. One of my, it's actually one
Are
of my
you
favorite.
going to
it's
say one thing? Because I just learned something and I was truly excited.
What's that?
I'm going to whisper to you. California Buttercup.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what you got on there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's right. I'm right.
As far as I know.
Yes. So this between Goldfields and
No. This is Buttercup. No, this is Western.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm coming to.
No, I just told them.
California.
Oh, you already.
I'm sorry.
But
I just said
you
that.
took my little. What I just learned, because there are two different kinds of buttercups. One's Western, and one's California. But this is one of the things you can tell this from the Goldfield. The sides, Goldfield looks like a sunflower. Note the shiny petals. Look at that. They almost look like somebody has sprayed like a lacquer finish on them.
Yeah.
So that was, to me, a good indicator because someone said sunflower or daisies. But that shiny leaves, right, George?
Yeah. There's like 3 or 4 that look almost the same.
Isn't that biscuit root?
Biscuit root. Thank you. That's another name for it. Yeah.
I came out here right after the fire, and I thought it was, and I don't know if we'll see the one. I thought it was snake root, but it's not. Death camas. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
First
not
thing,
this though, right?
No. First thing to bloom. It was amazing.
I heard that on the website.
And then
they
the
were saying.
second thing I saw that I was amazed, and it made you feel good and like, oh God, there's hope again, was the iris.
The iris, the Doug iris? The Doug
Well, we don't have Douglas iris here.
Oh, you don't?
No, there's 2 irises. There's the bowl iris, B-O-W-L bowl, or brown, I forget, and then there's the Fernelli. The bowl one is more purples. The Fernelli is more white and yellow. They called it something. They called it Douglas Trail for the Douglas trees because there are lots of those too. There were until they cut them all down just a little bit.
Yeah.
They're doing that in the process right now. But that was where they'd like to be. I'm not sure if it's
Those were the pink/purple.
type of tree or not.
They've done by pinking.
Okay, here we got another.
Oh, this is.
We did.
Yes, and again, blue.
So people who give names to flowers should not be colorblind.
It sounds like it should. I mean, that's my own theory that because there's so many of them that are blue this, blue that, and they're all, at least in my eye, they're all purple.
Purple, yeah.
I know because I was a painting contractor and I've done painting and I've done photography and all that kind of stuff.
What is
I
this
know
one?
my colors
blue
sensitivity
dip.
is real high
Blue
compared to some
dip.
people. But I'm going,
beg your
give me a break.
pardon.
Sorry, I didn't
But
mean
then it's the color of your iris affects what you see too. Because if you have blue eyes, you see something different than somebody who has brown eyes. And my brother and I, he has brown, I've got hazel, which they go blue and green. When I was doing tile, there's a paper that we use in the olden days, and I see it as green tint. And he goes, oh, it's brown.
The things are.
Yeah, that kind of thing. This is the only California native plantain. It's one of the ones I know. It's Plantago erecta,
And it stays tiny like that?
and it's also called dot seed, D-O-T
So there's
seed.
little dots in it. That's cute.
Yeah,
Little
if you-
dot.
if you
Is
wanna-
that the seed?
No,
Is
that's
that
part of the flower. If you
Oh,
want to pass
that's
that
the-
around,
Isn't that interesting?
but that's
Now, is this a composite? Would this be considered a composite?
what's that?
Would this be considered a composite because it's got multiple flowers on it?
I don't know exactly where they draw the line on that. If it's just a matter
I'll
of
quit asking.
yeah,
And
on
you
that one.
You said California plantain?
It's I'm not sure if they call it California, but it's dot seed.
The dot seed.
It's
And-
not
and
a plantain
and
like a
it's-
banana plantain.
No. That's different. Actually, those are grasses. Kind of looks grassy, and so it was the first thing that caught their attention, and so as Steve was saying earlier, and he's much better at this than I am. It looked like this to me. That's what it is. one of the people that work here at Pepperwood, she says that she really gets her jollies off to a certain degree, is that she'll see a plant, and she'll throw her own name on it, just to see how long it takes for it to come back to her.
So did we just talk about the white ones in here and I missed that?
What's that?
These white ones.
Oh no, we haven't. I didn't see that. Yeah, again, mutation kind of stuff. You'll see, like, just a couple of times you'll see white. It's less common, but it's all in the same plant.
Yeah, that is.
This one's white and this one's
And they're
that
the
one's
same
yellow.
plant.
And same way, yeah, all of
Same.
them.
So for some reason, the genes on that one didn't trigger to make the
Didn't
yellow,
see that the other day.
and so it stays
I've ever
white.
Could it be
seen
more
that one here.
faded?
No.
I think these are the males, and they're always the more attractive of the species.
And sometimes it'll be just one color.
That's
Maybe
why we
not.
put that plant on our face, right?
Maybe not.
You put that plant on your face.
Okay, I see we have a Papi here that's ready to demonstrate for us what pops. There's the cap. We pull it off, and voila! Once they lose the cap, it is ready to bloom. Here's some that are, they're not quite ready yet. Give them a little bit more time.
Now you can't help but step on them. There's so many of them.
They are belly flowers.
Well, no, that might be a bit of extreme, because even though you got to get down, the color, once they're going full blast, you know they're there. It's going to be a bright red. Magenta probably is closer to the color.
Or fuchsia.
That's good. That's good. Oh, here we go. Here's some are open.
What are we calling this?
This is the red
Oh,
Maid.
those are
Red
pretty.
Red Maid.
Maid.
Isn't that pretty?
Oh,
With
yeah.
that really orangey pollen in the center and a white throat.
Gorgeous.
One of the flowers that I wish I could have shown you, I should have brought a picture. It's a member of the Mimulus family, and they're over that away. They're about, the whole flower is about this tall. The rosette, as they call them, of leaves, so it looks like a rose kind of, is about maybe this big per plant. And it's a deeper magenta than that. And then one of its common names is mouse ears, purple mouse ears. And the reason is that with Mimulus, which is a genus, 2 of the petals tend to be accentuated and the other 3 are down. Well, this one looks like mouse ears. And the coolest thing, we had a fire here in 2000, almost took us out then, luckily didn't. And then my stepdaughter was out over that away, and she comes back and says, I see a red flower, I don't know what it is. I go over and I don't know what it is either. So I managed to finally figure out what it was. It was the purple mouse ears. And with it being that big, in and of itself, it's really pretty. But then when I got closer, sort of the belly flower concept, down the center, it's tiger striped. It's black and yellow.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
gorgeous little flower. But they don't last very long. We've got a couple over that away that are right in the middle of the trail, of course. And so people step on them. But there's like one here and like one over there and one. So we know where they are. We're over here. I found a cluster. I mean, that's kind of how I have seen them in the past. I found a cluster of 12 just the other day. It's like, I went, whoa, I'm so happy.
Here's the Harding grass.
Grasses are
Not very good to eat, even if you're a cow. Very invasive.
It's like we have 2 or 3.
You said sedges have edges.
Yeah.
What was the next one?
Rushes are round.
Edges
Grasses
have
are
edges, roughes have round. Grasses are
Fourth one
hollow.
is part of the rind. I don't know where. Another mimulus, I was telling you about the mouse ears.
Yeah.
This is another one called a seep. Well, you may be familiar with sticky monkey flower.
Yeah.
That's also mimulus. That likes dry area. This one's called a seep, S-E-E-P, monkey flower. And it likes water. In the first year I was here, first spring I was here, this whole field was that color because it was one of the last El Niños we had. So this was really, really, really wet.
It's a seep monkey flower?
Seep monkey flower. And if you look at it, you know, one of those again, get down. One of the really pretty things about it, see here's the 2 petals on top. And then one more and one more. It's 5 petals. There's 3 below and 2 above.
Right.
See the little red dots.
Right.
And there's also hairs. And it's a gorgeous little flower, but it has to have pretty much standing water. When we were out Wednesday, we were looking for it and didn't find it. Like the difference between then and now.
The likely place to is where we're going, and no, not.
He said they found it.
Oh, they found them. But to see this, I've never, in all my years of being here, seen it over here.
Well, and like I was saying, when I first moved here, the spring of 2000, this whole thing was gold.
Of those?
Of those, yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing them, George.
Well, see, after that, it was like, it's only been 10%.
Yeah.
And so I never bothered to take any pictures, because I figured that's the way it was. And then after that, it's like, oh, come on, guys. Well, it's the way it goes.
This is the Pacific wildlife.
You can see the blue-eyed grasses are just a little warmer over here, so that they're opening up a little more rapidly. Well, like here's, look at the color of this one versus the other blue-eyed grasses. Much, much deeper.
Yeah.
So there is a variation on the theme.
Is that just the difference in the environment?
Or again, some genetic trait was triggered differently. That's,
Right.
It's in there, and if it doesn't get hit by it, it doesn't go that direction. But if it,
Okay, right, it's genetic. Okay.
Certainly sunnier on this side of the hill here.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. Isn't it, wouldn't it be a lot of, like environment would be sun. It would be environmental if it were sun.
I believe so,
It's
yes.
genetic and environmental.
I mean, but even as we found the different types of rocks and the minerals in the rocks.
Yes, the
so much.
minerals, so much, yeah.
this makes horrid wine. It's more
And the Italians are always stuck in.
that's all dandelion greens. That
You do any dandelion?
Again, this is not that stuff.
It's not?
No.
Oh, it's a different like right in the store.
Because I make sudden stops.
An event at night. I guess.
Tomcat, maybe.
Huh. What a cute
It's a
name.
little close. It's a little too
It's a
tight
clover,
for that.
it's a little clover.
As I said, there's something like 40 different ones on the property, and so I think Tomcat's a little bit more open. Okay, this is the seed pods of the Lupin.
Oh, the pods. Isn't that interesting?
Lupin is a member of the pea family. So,
Pea family.
yeah.
Already finished.
See this pod kind
Yeah.
of thing? Just like that.
What is that? It's a,
This is the seed pod of
Seed
this.
pod of the Lupin.
Of this right here. Same, you know, one after the other. That's one in the flower.
Oh, that's why they make
And
So
seed.
it's already gone to seed?
Yeah, and some this came up a whole lot sooner than these guys did, and so they've already been pollinated and they've gone to seed. Yeah.
Hello.
One that we got around here.
There's like a million that are daisy-like.
Well, that's it's a composite. That's a sunflower. Yeah, for sure.
These are the blues.
It might be one called blow wives.
Blow wide?
Wives.
Wives?
See here. Here's a picture.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
yes.
And it's one of the neat. It's a dandelion.
Oh, okay.
Also dandelion.
But it's one of the neat characteristics is that the seed parachutes, whatever you want to call them, you know, are much more coarse in number. They're bigger seed, and the carrying part is like maybe 5 or 6, much broader than what you would think of as with dandelions.
A really different leaf structure,
Yeah,
too.
And do you have a picture of Goldfield in there? Because I was looking at.
Here, right here. Jepson.
Oh, yeah, Jepson.
And this is now the second edition of Jepson. And this one has been extremely influenced by DNA studies.
Really?
So that I've heard as much as 80% of the plants have been
Look at all the
renamed,
chips in here.
repositioned, re-this, re-whatever. It's like just total havoc in the plant world.
So what is DNA?
Because they were able to, because with DNA, you're able to say, okay, this one's connected to this one.
Right.
They have found many that they thought were closely related that aren't even near anywhere. And others they thought they were far apart, were like next door neighbors or cousins or whatever.
So what do they call it?
That's amazing.
This one was called deer lotus,
Okay.
but it's actually a clover, so it's not a lotus.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
But no, deer vetch, and vetch is a member of the pea family, which all these guys are pea family. And
So it has a flower like a sweet pea.
yeah, exactly, small, yeah.
And it's deer vetch.
Deer vetch, D-E-T-C-H. And that's, I think it's also an invasive, as far as I know. We got lots of those. I think I heard them point this out. We'll see more of this.
Oh, look at that.
This is a pretty little flower, also an invasive.
Shoot.
That's Pimpernel? The Scarlet Pimpernel?
Yeah.
It's called Scarlet Pimpernel.
That's what I thought.
And the thing is, no one that I know of has ever seen a Scarlet Pimpernel. They're all the salmon color, except
That coral.
except that when I was out on Monday with the really good botanist, we came across a Scarlet Pimpernel, but it has once in a while vivid blue petals. Really? Gorgeous thing.
Very.
But it's the same plant. It's just that again, it's triggered. I think it's a subspecies with Brewer's Scarlet Pimpernel. Brewer was, whoever it was, the guy named Brewer was the one who first named it, and yeah, that's it too.
Just remember, they're invasive. They'll trick you. They'll change their colors when you least expect it.
Turn your back, and there they are.
There's salmon colored here.
Well, the guy who was the property manager, Greg DeNevers, he was leaving just as I was coming to the property back in '99. He was on the rampage to call it Salmon Pimpernel.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of for a while around here, that's what people were doing, but then they just kind of pressure. Exactly, yeah. They're here everywhere. So I just happened to see that one on the trail. I know it's not cream cup, but it's something like cream something. Cream sacks? Cream sacks.
Cream sacks. Not sex, sacks.
And there's another one, this one's a native, and there's another one that's an invasive that looks really similar. But these are actually natives.
Those are cream sacks, and what are these little guys here?
That's the deer vetch.
Deer vetch.
So cream sacks is sort of, what would you call that? It's like a spiky stack.
Mm-hmm. I think the sack idea is, if you look at the flower, it's kind of poofy.
Oh,
I'm surprised they didn't.
And the cream is a yellowish color, so it's kind of, that's where the...
But they didn't make any mention of the bushy green stuff.
I guess it wasn't what caught their eye at the time.
And yet it's so more dominant.
So what is that one? Because we were looking at
Cream sack.
Cream sack. Okay.
I'm sure they're quite tasty.
Yeah.
The ones that aren't stepped on are
It's so pretty.
very delicate looking.
This one? Cream sack.
There's some more cream sacks.
Okay.
Aren't those pretty?
They are beautiful.
That's a pretty little...
If you look right there, that color, the pinkish purple,
Yes.
there's much more over here. We'll be able to get to it from the trail. That's one of the highlights of this whole thing.
Aha.
I can't change the name of the Scarlet Pimpernel because that book was written, what, in the 1800s?
Probably so. Well, another plant that we have here is called a hedge nettle. I'm not sure if you know that. Turns out there's 3 species we have on the property. I only thought we had 2, and I was looking at the flora, the book, that says what we got. And it showed a 3rd one. I'm going, what are you talking about? There's only 2. It says where it is. It's very cryptic. Well, it's near. If you want to get the light just right and look down the throat.
Oh my.
I mean, the pollen is blue. There's a deep purple around the inside, and there's yellow down below. And that's what the bugs are seeing.
And it's called
Bird's eye gilia.
Gilia. But this will be in bloom for 2-3 weeks and then fade away.
Wow, pretty delicate.
I happen to do like lots of wildflowers.
Look down the colors.
Look, you can see the yellow. Look at that. Isn't that so good? And the
Mine
way
are
it-
the
Boy, that's gorgeous.
Everywhere here, yes.
So it's purple edge.
That's immaculate.
You can't take a picture going down inside, which is too bad, because that's pretty impressive.
One of the really high points of what we have around here.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
What is that?
Beautiful.
Is that the
That's the gilia, bird's eye gilia.
Gilead? It's called bird's eye.
Yeah,
They've got less than 8 petals, just they're pretty close, isn't it?
it's 5 petals.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
That would make sense. It's by the water.
A little on the edge, but it's still got water right there. And later on, more than likely, that whole thing will be covered with these guys. The ditches just after you go out the entrance. That's one of the last areas on the property that get this through the year. And so it's kind of a nice little touch when you're coming in and going out to see the pretty foliage. And I think I've seen bees are the pollinator. When I first saw these, I asked people, I don't know what about pollinators. I said, why don't you stand there and watch? Isn't that the way things go? I mean, I don't have the temperament for it, but other people do.
People do, right. Mm-hmm.
I'll sit there for days trying to figure out what's going on.
Bring yourself a bottle of wine and just enjoy the afternoon.
That's right.
Now that's not a bad idea. Now you're talking.
That's right.
If it's a non-native, it'll bind up. It'll be like they have little prickly spit barbs, and that's kind of a quick but not necessarily exact way of being able to determine
This,
native to non.
so we had the buttercups that were really bright, shiny yellow, and then we had the cream cups that were pale.
Right.
What is this thing that was bushy?
That's the cream sack.
Cream sack.
I was having natural wine. I was cream something. Oh,
Or
fine.
something with cream.
George, are these that prevalent in California?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And we have quite a bit of it on the property. As I said earlier, out there in that meadow, there's like 7 different species of native grasses that are found there naturally.
So a typical stalk might have, what, 10 or more on it?
Well, see, this is a different one.
Oh, this is not it, huh?
Right behind you.
That's an oat.
Oh, it's just an oat. Okay, where's?
But it
Oh,
may
here we
be-
go.
Maybe a native oat.
These are more reddish.
Yes, that's where you get the purple needlegrass concept.
Okay.
When you see a bunch of it, it's kind of purple, wavy grain part of the whatever.
But you might find them among oats and others with it. Then I take it.
Yeah, there's this.
Oh yeah, look at
Because
them.
each one has a kind of a specific moisture need,
Yes.
sun need,
Mm-hmm.
and also some come up a little sooner
Mm-hmm.
that may shade out the other ones or not, and so they all come up at their different times and
So
different places.
people, when they originally thought they would use it for California, is it kind of more indigenous to California than other states?
Purple needlegrass is pretty much California only.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is one of the many plants that the Native Americans would harvest.
Oh. Oh, they actually use it for food source.
They would have woven baskets,
Huh.
and they would just go like that, and the seeds
Yeah.
would fall in once it gets to a certain maturity.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of the things they're talking about the Native Americans is that what white folk saw when they first got here, which was wilderness, was actually controlled agriculture, which they'd been doing for 10, 20,000 years. Like the stuff they make baskets out of. Their belief system locally, and maybe elsewhere as well, is that they're working for 7 generations. They're working so somebody that their grandmother's grandmother is going to use this. So there's I can't remember exactly which one it is, but there's one that have a rhizome, which is a type of root. Like a strawberry has a rhizome where it will root.
By
Root
stolone or whatever they call that. Yeah.
and in nature, it'll just be all crumple, whatever,
Yeah.
But they want to make basketry out of it. So they will go and plow with their hands or their tools
Yeah.
and reposition the rhizomes, and they could get 10, 20 foot long straight rhizomes, and that's what they would use for basketry.
And it's for the
Amazing.
future generation.
Absolutely,
to have these
that you're
rhizomes.
using stuff that the 7th generation might be like 3 generations, but
Yeah.
it's like
3
you're
or
doing
more.
stuff that your grandmother's grandmother did, and stuff that you're doing now is for your grandkids.
Paying it forward, right? Paying it
Yeah.
forward.
Survival.
One of the head person of the Native American Council for this whole area was here on Easter, I think it was. Not making a difference. And he was saying how that because the white folks manage the property, the Native Americans were getting more and more freaked out about this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And so he said that as far as they're concerned now, somebody hit the reset button. And this is what it's supposed to be like. And that they would burn every 3 to 5 years.
Right.
And also they would burn corridors for walking purposes, so you could see what was on either side and keep the ticks off of you, and and you could not have enemies jumping on you and that kind of stuff.
And just to keep the underbrush, you know, all of that wildness.
Absolutely.
Get rid of that, clear
well,
it
because
out.
they were doing agriculture, they would like and I'm sure just as an example, say the bird's eye gilia, maybe seeds may be something they could use. I don't know personally right now if that's true. They would affect that and maybe make this entire hillside only that. They would get rid of all the other stuff that's in the way, and so they would be able to harvest in a smaller area rather than having to jump around and find it. And it's amazing to think.
Agriculture, is that considered agriculture?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it was like long range, very big.
Did they have the corn or
No,
what?
no, that was South America.
All natives.
All natives, all this like this, all that stuff. Yeah.
But they would just pick and choose which they wanted.
Yeah.
To continue
yeah, because they
on.
would like different oak trees. They would keep the oak trees that they liked.
Oh.
I forget, somebody here, it might have been Steve, somebody talking to a group, and they were talking about like Valley Oak, and the particular tribe of the person that he was talking to goes, oh, that's just mush stuff, that's not good stuff for any eating at all. Whereas the black oak, that's what they're looking for, because that's what gives you better protein or something. And so I've heard the stories many times, but my memory was never good when I was young, and it's even worse now. This one is, okay, we have 2 species on the property that I know of. This one is the Mount St. Helena Morning Glory. And the reason you can distinguish it from the other one is that, see how it's kind of an arrowhead sort of shaped leaf? That's the distinguishing character, the major distinguishing character of this species.
Okay.
Whereas on the common Morning Glory, which is much more viney, this is more of a cluster, whereas the other one's more of a constricting kind. The leaf is more of a roundish sort of thing. But the flowers look quite similar. This one, some of them will have a bit of a pink tinge. This one tends not to at the moment. They might be, maybe when they get more mature they might. Yeah, like you can see little veins.
Yeah, look at all the water he's filled up with.
Yeah, and then see between this, that'll get more and more pink. And I think it was one of the very first scientific names I ever heard was Morning Glory, and it's probably not even called that anymore. It was convolvular ace. And it was the idea was constrictive, convulsive. It would twine things, and that's why they called it that. And I went, that's cool. But like I said, they've changed names like crazy. I don't even know if that's currently one's used. I have no idea.
Almost repulsive, but it's convulsive.
Yeah, but it's one of those that's stuck in my head.
Yes.
It grabbed me. There's lots of folks that come in here all for the lichen and stuff.
Yes.
People really love that.
So we have had a wonderful afternoon here at Pepperwood Reserve. We encourage you to come and check it out, see all the good they're doing for restoration. It's been really kind of a surreal type of a feeling because all these wildflowers and the seeds of hope are so inspiring and bring this feeling about a future that's going to be fantastic, but it's mixed in with all these burnt trees from the fire. So it's just really a surreal feeling, and it's something I'm really glad we had an opportunity to experience, and happy that you came along with us.
Yes, it was quite a day. It's beautiful out here, as you can see. The poppies and the hundreds of different flowers that are out here. And I don't mean just by each variety, but different varieties here. And but when you look in the background, and you can see the devastation that a fire can cause as it comes through here. Well, it seems like about every 23 years is when we get our chance. And in Santa Rosa, it did take out over 5,000 homes, and on behalf of our Rotary Club, we were happy to be able to work with Redwood Credit Union and others to provide millions of dollars to the people in need. And Grace and I personally had a chance to go out and meet with some of the people and give them some checks for businesses and individuals also. So yeah, it's really a touching experience. And Pepper Ridge here is a great preserve, and if you get a chance, come on out. But in the interim, if you want to learn more, be sure to go ahead and sign up for us. We love comments more than anything else, but you can go ahead and hit the notifications at the top, and you'll be sure to get everything. But we hope you enjoyed the show. And what do you think, Grace? Anything else?
I think you just stepped on my wildflower.
Uh-oh.
I guess I can find another.
It's pretty hard not to around here. Okay, well, peace out. Bye for now.
Bye.
Have you been to California, seen the sights and people there, walked the streets of sleepy sea towns, tasted salty ocean air?